Is homeopathy scientific? Let's dig deep into this subject of homeopathy in this video. And here I have opened a Wikipedia article, and it says that homeopathy is a pseudoscientific system of alternative medicine. It was created in 1796 by Samuel Hahnemann. Its practitioners, called homeopaths, believed that a substance that caused symptoms of a disease in healthy people would cure similar symptoms in sick people. This doctrine is called simila similibus curantur, or like cures like. Homeopathic preparations are termed remedies and are made using a process of homeopathic dilution. Now, in homeopathy, homeopathic dilution is a process in which a substance is diluted with alcohol or distilled water and then vigorously shaken in a process called suction. Insoluble solids such as quartz and oyster shell are diluted by grinding them with lactose. Okay, so it's based on a principle that a substance which causes disease in healthy people would cure similar symptoms in sick people. So they dilute substances like, as you can see here, quartz and oyster shells, which are toxic, mildly toxic to human body, and they dilute the solution to such an extent that no trace of the original substance remains in the solution. They dilute it with either water or alcohol, and the chosen substance is repeatedly diluted, typically until nothing of the original substance remains. Practitioners select remedies by consulting reference books known as repertories and claim that these remedies, upon oral intake, can treat or cure disease. Despite the claims by the practitioners, homeopathic preparations are not effective for treating any medical conditions. All relevant scientific knowledge about physics, chemistry, biochemistry, and biology gained since at least the mid-19th century confirm that homeopathic remedies have no active content and no biophysical effect. So according to science, it is a woo-woo. It is just like witchcraft, and it has no scientific basis, and it is just working on the belief system. There is no proof. The people who have created homeopathy have no proof either, and science has no proof, and I think it can't disprove it either. It's like God. We cannot disprove God, but we cannot prove it either, so it is similar. A lot of countries have withdrawn funding, like as it's mentioned here, assessments of homeopathy by national and international bodies have recommended withdrawal of government funding. Australia, United Kingdom, Switzerland, and France, as well as European Academies, Science Advisory Council, and the Commission of Pseudoscience and Research Fraud of Russian Academy of Sciences, each concluded that homeopathy is ineffective and recommended against the practice receiving any further funding. France and England, where homeopathy was formerly prevalent, are in the process of removing all public funding, but it is thriving here in India. A lot of people still believe in homeopathy. A lot of youngsters I see go to homeopathic doctors, quote unquote doctors, for symptoms, for things like acne, pimples, and all skin conditions mostly, and even A lot of parents bring their children for cough, cold, chest infections, etc., asthma, etc., and even diabetes. There are a lot of homeopathic doctors here in India, like Dr. Batras. It's a famous homeopathic chain of hospitals in almost in every city of India, and they are just making fool out of people according to science. Now there are some history and some Handman's concept based on which it's developed, quote unquote provings, which we will go later in this video. But first I want to uh, be the devil's advocate, and I want to see what they have to say. So I will go to the website of British Homeopathic Association, founded in 1902. The evidence for homeopathy. The website says that this is British Homeopathic Association. There's a growing body of published research in good quality peer-reviewed journals showing that homeopathy has a positive effect. This section of the website gives you a straightforward introduction to the kinds of evidence that exist for homeopathy and the range of conditions, along with evidence. Homeopathic research is still in its infancy. The body of evidence that exists shows that much more evidence is required. Investigation is required. 44% of all the randomized controlled trials carried out have been positive, 5% negative, and 47% inconclusive. Unfortunately, homeopathy does not attract large amounts of funding. More funding is required to conduct high quality trials using suitable research methods. Alright, at present, for example, only 63 of the 188 randomized controlled trial papers have studied classical individualized homeopathy. Each of the other 125 RCT papers has investigated the effect of one selected homeopathic medicine. The widely accepted method for proving whether or not a medical intervention works is called a randomized controlled trial. One group of patients, the control group, receive placebo, a dummy pill, or standard treatment, and another group of patients receive the medicine being tested. The trial becomes double-blinded when neither the patient nor the practitioner knows which treatment the patient is getting. RCTs are often referred to as the gold standard of clinical research. Alright, so this is explaining what an RCT is. Up to the end of 2014, a total of 104 papers reporting good quality placebo-controlled RCTs in homeopathy have been published in peer-reviewed journals. 41% of these RCTs have reported a balance of positive evidence, 5% a balance of negative evidence, and 54% have not been conclusively positive or negative. So 41% have reported a positive evidence, but that could be just a placebo effect, because 54% is inconclusive and 5% is negative. You can add that to the inconclusive and it's like almost 60% is not in favor of homeopathic medicine. And a lot of times people become sick and they they get all right automatically. Even if they take medicine or they don't take, it doesn't matter. Just based on the processes going on inside their body, based on their genetic makeup and environment, they just get all right, and the ailment vanishes after a while in a lot of people. So it could be just that is happening in this for lot of 41% of the cases. So for full details of all these RCTs, visit this section. Also see the 2-page evidence summary. Okay, let's go into this page. Research. This is faculty of homeopathy.org. So let's read what they have to say. Up to the end of 2014, there have been 189 peer-reviewed papers, and the same information which we just read. Homeopathy works mostly based on the principle of ultra high dilutions, as we have already read in the Wikipedia article. But where is the study? A number of systematic reviews. All right, let's this is randomized controlled trials in homeopathy. Let's go here. Faculty of homeopathy.org. This is the overall summary, but there is no, I don't see a link to the actual papers. Of these 104 papers, this is just the diseases which they have studied: bronchitis, brain injury, insomnia. All these things can be treated by homeopathy. Positive direction of RCT evidence in 26 conditions. And this is clearly positive direction. So it's really effective for sinusitis and allergic rhinitis, and not effective or non-conclusive for asthma, ADHD, anxiety, depression, headache, HIV, and a lot of other things. But okay, now I see the references. So these are, I guess, the 104 studies which are conducted, but these are just the references. You cannot click on them and see their contents. Abel S, Laram E, Dorwick S, Tapsland P. Is homeopathic immunotherapy effective? A double-blind placebo-controlled trial with the isopathic remedy Betula 30C for patients with birch pollen allergy, published in the British Homeopathic Journal. Now I don't know how credible are these studies, what is the source of their funding, and which industries have funded these studies, because that matters a lot. Industry funded research is losing its credibility, so we have to really see who is funding the study. If you remember, a lot of these peer reviewed studies were published saying that cigarette smoking is not harmful, and even that lot of advertisement campaigns were released with famous people, celebrities, and even doctors saying on the ad that they smoke daily and it is beneficial to health. And a lot of research was funded by the cigarette industry. And even now, the oil industry funds a lot of study which only advances their own goals. So I don't know. I see a lot of Indian names here. As you can see, all these are Indian names. All these are Indian names, and one person is appearing in multiple studies too, as you can see, this and this here. So I will really have to dig deep into it, because in India it is really famous. People just believe in homeopathy in India, and even in the rest of the world, if I may say so. So okay, these are the trials. So I just wanted to give you the present the side of from the homeopathy perspective, and let's see there some other articles, especially this Guardian article, which says that there is no scientific case for homeopathy. The debate is over. If this is true, then all these, it raises a big question on our scientific community and all these studies which are saying that homeopathy works. All these studies are either right or they are wrong, and according to science and scientific community, it doesn't work at all. So this is really bad for scientific community either way, because if it is correct, if homeopathy works, then why are so many scientific articles are written which says otherwise? I don't know why do I have to click on it again and again. If I change the tab, I guess if I change the tab, it appears again. I don't know why I changed my mind about homeopathy. Okay, this is a different article. So I was reading this article. Homeopathy has been with me all my life. Edzard Ernst has written this article. As a boy, I was treated by homeopaths. My first post as a junior doctor was in a homeopathic hospital. Later, I researched homeopathy and published more than 100 papers on the subject. So this person is a scientist himself, is a researcher, and he published more than 100 papers on the subject. And now he's saying that there is no scientific case for homeopathy. So what were those papers then? In 1993, when I became professor of complementary medicine at Exeter, I was more than happy to give homeopathy the benefit of the doubt. I would have loved to show that it is effective beyond placebo, not just not least because anyone doing that would almost automatically deserve a Nobel Prize. He or she would have to show that a sizable chunk of our understanding of the laws of nature is quite simply wrong. Homeopathy is based on the belief that like cures like, and that the dilution of a medicine, which homeopaths call potentiation, renders it not weaker but stronger, as both of these assumptions fly in the face of science. Critical thinkers have always insisted that few things could be more implausible than homeopathy. Indeed, and I believe so, up until now at least. But plausibility is not everything. In Exeter, we conducted trials, surveys, and reviews of homeopathy in the faint hope that we might discover something important. What we did find was sobering. Our trials failed to show that homeopathy is more than a placebo. That's what I was suspecting. It's just a placebo effect. That's what is happening here. Our reviews demonstrate that the most reliable of the 230 or so trials of homeopathy ever published are not so positive. Studies with animals confirmed the results obtained on humans. Surveys and case reports suggested that homeopathy can be dangerous. The claims made by homeopaths to cure conditions like cancer, asthma, or even Ebola were bogus, and the promotion of homeopathy is not ethical. The Australians considered this evidence carefully and have now published their final report and arrived at the same conclusion. So let me just go back and read this. Now, the internationally highly respected Australian National Health and the Medical Research Council have conducted what certainly is the most thorough and independent evaluation of homeopathy in its 200-year-long history. Already their preliminary report had confirmed that homeopathy is nothing other than treatment with placebos. So, after 200 years of fruitless discussion, we finally have in the Australian evaluation a comprehensive, transparent, and evidence based review from a panel of experts who are competent and free of conflicts of interest, which is very important, as well as a government that is determined to abide by the advice thus generated. Let's hope that others will now follow suit. This is the article published in life.spectator.co.uk. I guess homeopathy is a lot famous in United Kingdom too. I was not aware of this phenomenon. I thought that in the West people are more aware and homeopathy is only a phenomenon in the East. But I was wrong. There are a lot of these articles which are a lot of these verdicts. Here is a list of 12 verdicts that I managed to find. And now I want to present this article for you, which is published in The Guardian. Why I changed my mind about homeopathy. There can be no doubt people get better after consulting a homeopath, and the reason is clear. Alright? I don't know where this is going. Homeopathy has intrigued me for many years. In a way, I grew up with it. Our family doctor was a homeopath in my very first job as a junior doctor. Alright, I just read this. I think I read it previously also. So this is a guy who has a long history with homeopathy, and he is a clinician almost 30 years ago he was impressed with the results achieved by homeopathy. Many of his patients seemed to improve dramatically after receiving homeopathic treatment. How was this possible? In order to understand this apparent contradiction, we have to take a step back and consider the complexities of the therapeutic response. Whenever a patient or a group of patients receive a medical treatment and subsequently experience improvements, we automatically assume that improvement was caused by the intervention. This logical fallacy can be very misleading and has hindered progress in medicine for hundreds of years. Of course, it could be the treatment, but there are many other possibilities as well. For instance, the condition could have improved on its own, or the encounter between the therapist and the patient could have been therapeutic without any meaningful contribution from the treatment itself, or the patient could have had high expectations in the treatment that prompted a powerful placebo response, or the patient self administered some other treatments concomitantly that caused the improvements. In other words, it is not the effect of the remedy per se, but the non-specific effect of the context in which it is given that benefits the patient. So there could be a lot of other reasons which could contribute to the patient's overall health being improved over time, and it's not necessarily the homeopathic treatment given which is doing that. And it is really hard to understand for common people, and it is really hard when you are suffering from an ailment, and when you are not well, and you are in a lot of stress. Anything that works will be treated as the word of God. Like, if it's working for someone, if he's taking homeopathic medicine and the disease goes away, he will most certainly like to believe in homeopathy. He will become a fan of homeopathy, and this is the way it spreads. It's really hard to be objective in such situations when you are really affected so personally by something as a disease, and it could be anything from a benign pimple to a serious condition. And it is the psychology of human beings to give importance to what they see and what they hear, and sometimes we don't really dig deep, and we don't really think too much, and if it's working, it's working, and we don't really analyze it too much. We don't like to do that. Scientists do that, but not normal people, and that's why it has spread to this extent in the world, this homeopathy. Placebo effects are notoriously unreliable. The patient who benefits today might not do so tomorrow. Yes, that's true, because placebo effect, we don't know how it works. It's really complex. It happens it happens in the real world, where there are there are thousands and thousands of factors affecting a human being. The environment, the atmosphere, is the processes going on inside the body, the cells, the genes, the DNA, and the environment, the human beings he's living with, the stress, the job, the pollution. A lot of things are affecting us on a daily basis, and the combined effect of all these factors cannot be computed, and it's really hard to study such effects like placebo effects, and that's why they are unreliable, because we live in a dynamic world which is constantly changing. Our body is changing constantly, and the environment around us also is changing constantly, which means that if something is a even if the placebo is benefiting you today, it might not do that tomorrow, and it can be dangerous to patients with serious conditions. So I think these trials, which says that homeopathy is effective, are just placebo effect, and some are industry funded too, I'm sure, and a plethora of other research has published which says otherwise, and countries have banned homeopathy, and I hope it happens everywhere, including countries like India, China, Britain, etc. So I don't think we have to dig too deep into the process of homeopathy, how it works, how it is supposed to work, and all that. If you want to read, I will you can go to the Wikipedia article, and you can dig deep into it if you want. But let's just leave it here, and I think the verdict is that homeopathy is not effective. There is no scientific evidence that homeopathy is effective, and it should not be practiced, it should not be prescribed by doctors.